Okay, I believe we're now live. Got a BNSF mixed freight running over there. And we've also got this Tyco Locomotive, which was running when I started the live stream, but I think this one is probably in need of some service. Oh, there we go. Guess whatever was holding that back cleared up. That's good. North American Rail Films, welcome. Good evening. A whole bunch of people joining in. Welcome, everyone. See if I can get a streetcar going as well. Love your channel, it's amazing. Thank you. Run the daylight. Probably make that work. No limit. No, I have to enable that. Run your favorite locomotive. You should run the Hayawa. Yeah, we could do that. I found your channel after a year. I'm glad I found it again. Oh, welcome back. Do you have a BNSF-9? I do somewhere. Right now I have an AC 4400 on, which is pretty similar. Oh, looks like we got a super chat. Middletown Branch Productions, hello SMT, question for you. What are your thoughts on the Reading T1? Would you get one for your layout? I don't have the exact one, but I already do have a T1. I think it's an amazing project. I hope they succeed. This was probably about a year or two ago, but I actually did a fundraiser on the channel to help the T1 Trust raise funds for that project. So me and a bunch of people possibly watching right now contributed a little bit to the construction of that engine. We're gonna do another midnight live stream. I think it's possible. My parents are out of town there, so I'm allowed to burn the midnight oil with the live streams. We got a new PRR T1 built before in NYC Hudson somehow. Well, I think the money is one thing, but it's also just who's behind it. It's definitely a passion project, that's for sure. Norman Corey, hello. Hey SMT, besides trains, what other vehicle, toys, or hobbies do you have? Outside trains, I have an old car, an Oldsmobile, and I've got two boats. I was actually working on one of them today, rebuilding the carburetor. It's got a Evinrude V4 on it. That's pretty much it in terms of other machines. Hey SMT, I just got a 1980s Bachmann 280. Well, hopefully it doesn't develop the gear splitting issue. I find the consolidations are easier to fix than some of the other ones, though. The daylights are the really tricky one. Do you like any motorsports? I I'm not into a crazy amount. I've got a really old mini bike, which I fixed up, but I don't do anything, it's not like rotocross or anything crazy like that. It's just like, I don't know, putting around the neighborhood. I bypassed the governor on it though. It's way scarier than it used to be. I mean, when I bought that thing, like I've got a lot of friends who are mechanics and they're like, dude, like that engine's toast. Like, you know, I wouldn't rebuild it. And then I managed to get it running. But the linkages all rusted out on it. So I took some wires, the same stuff I used for the Hershey factory. And so, yeah, it has no governor. So it will rev right to 4 grand now. What province are you in? Quebec. Gatineau's kind of interesting though, because it's like literally right on the border of Quebec and Ontario. So like I've had jobs in Ottawa, and I don't know, quite often when friends want to do something, it's somewhere in Ottawa. SMT, I'm getting ready for an HO scale railroad for my grandfather. He got it when he was a teenager, probably the 60s and 70s, but some part of the rails. Any recommendations on what I should do? Okay, so if you're missing track, the good news is that track, even from the 60s and 70s, is not that different from what you have now. It's probably code 100 if it's HO. So you can just buy like Atlas code 100 nickel silver track, and it will actually perform better than the original track. I would definitely get yourself a track cleaner though, which is abrasive, like this track bright here. Because if that's track from the 60s or 70s, it's probably going to be oxidized, and if you don't clean it off, it's not going to perform very well. But yeah, the stuff from the 60s and 70s is pretty well made. I find the 80s was really the decade where quality really took a hit. Like that's when Bachmann, Lifelike, and Tyco were ruling the day, and a lot of that stuff hasn't lasted as well, whereas there was some stuff from the 70s which is still going pretty strong, and a lot of great stuff from the 60s. Like even the cheap brands from the 60s were quite well made. What happened to your Bamboo Lab 3D printer? I never had a Bamboo Lab 3D printer. I had this Creality K1, but oh, are you talking? Okay, yeah, you're the guy. Okay, so about a year ago, maybe it's 2 years ago now, I was sent a link to a printer before I bought this one, and I purchased it. Thing never showed up, and the website was really sketchy. They kept trying to tack on all sorts of extra fees, and when I asked for my money back, I didn't hear anything from them, so I just filed a dispute with PayPal, and they refunded my $400, but yeah, that was bad. Ed Bately Jr., thank you so much for the super chat. Could you run the trolley in a regular pace? I'll be sending you some track sites, accessories, road signs, crossing signals in the next week. Well, thanks. I'll try to. The thing is, the trolley runs off the same track as the Tyco does, and that was running rough earlier, but maybe it will tolerate a lower speed now. Let's see. That's a little more calm. Do you have any Broadway limited locomotives? I've got a couple. Doesn't seem like the Tyco's liking the low speed too much. What's your favorite train-themed video game? Is it a simulator or something more out there? My favorite train simulator is Microsoft Train Simulator. And I know by today's standards, the graphics are not very good, but it's really more of a nostalgia thing. I'm also a very big fan of Trains with a Z. Trains was actually the first train simulator I ever had, and the thing I loved about it was the route building. It was, I think, actually designed to be track planning software, so they really put a lot of effort into the route building software, so you could build these really cool routes. Will you be coming to the Montreal train show in June? I'm gonna try to, but the timing might be tricky because on the last day of May, I'm heading down to Maine to go on a family vacation. So I'm gonna be gone for about a week. So by the time I come back, it might be that same weekend. I don't know. Have you ever messed around with any Tyco operating accessories? I'm building a layout for some friends right now and I'm installing some. I've worked with their roadway crossing, and I feel like I had another one of their cars which unloaded or something like that, but not a crazy amount of their stuff. It's a cool concept, but truth be told, I don't find a lot of those things are super robust. Will you ever fix your grandmother's AC trains? So funny you say that. I am planning to do that really soon because my grandmother's 82nd birthday just went by. And anyway, she said that she wanted to run trains for 3 hours. That's what she asked for her birthday. So I'm like, okay. And I got her, what was it? 440. I got that running. Unfortunately, I burned the armature out of it. But I ordered another armature, but I'm thinking the second time I'm going to try to actually convert it into a DC locomotive. I've got a really elaborate plan. No idea if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. So the thing is, the flanges on that engine are too big for even Code 100 track, but around a year ago, I bought that lot of Australian locomotives, and one of those was a slightly more modern AC Trix locomotive that somebody already converted to DC. So what I'm thinking is I can probably kind of swap the parts on that, and hopefully they'll kind of work together. It's a long shot, but try again. I had Tyco operating accessories. They held up surprisingly well. Well, I haven't seen any of the electrical components fail. It's just more the fact that I find trying to get them to work right can be a little iffy. At least with that roadway crossing, sometimes it would get stuck. Hi, SMT. Do you remember the Gscale Locomotive that has problems? I posted about it. It can be very picky. I posted a video on my channel about my Gscale Locomotive if you want to watch it. Well, if you want to send me a link to that, I can definitely try to help you with that. Anyway, I think the Hayawa was requested, which might be a good replacement for the engine which we were running earlier. I recently realized how much I like building kits and built all the ones I had. Now I've run out of kits and I'm sad. Well, wait for a train show, because building kits at train shows are a dime a dozen. You can usually pick them up for like $5 each. Most of my Tyco accessories were okay, yeah, the manually operated ones. I'm looking for the Hayawa. Can't remember where I put it into storage. Probably out on the layout. Ooh, another super chat. Nick Best something, I'm not sure what that last part is. Thanks for inspiring my bakery industry, layout and hobby. Any surplus stuff in search of due to the overlap. Try and send Hershey stuff your way. Ooh. What bakery are you modeling? I think there's one bakery I'm aware of in Maine. I think it's in Biddeford. It's a huge ex-Hostess factory. That place looks like it must have been quite the operation in its day. I have a cat named Chessie. Well, I'm not sure if it was you who said this, but I feel like I've heard that before. We'll run the Hayawa to counter rotate. It's a comment I always get after every live stream. Why don't you run the trains in different directions? And the truth is I can. It's just when I'm setting everything up to start off the live stream, it would be kind of awkward. Where are the Hiawatha coaches? I've got 2 of them over in the rail yard there, but I'm just going to throw it behind the freight cars. Eric from Eric's Trains has a cat named Chessie. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. SMT, have you ever seen a steam engine in person? If so, which one? If you're talking about like an actually live one, I've seen a Swedish E2, which was part of the Hull-Chelsea-Wakefield Railway. And I also saw a working Gscale locomotive at the Museum of Science and Technology. In terms of other steam locomotives, just on static display, I've seen quite a few others, including actually a big boy locomotive, the one in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Actually, I saw another live steam locomotive in Montreal. It was called the John Molson. What was your first locomotive? It was a Lifelike GP40, I think. Christian Bachelor, can you run the train on the other half of the layout? That part of the layout isn't operating at the moment. So when I disconnected the Hershey factory, that part of the layout kind of came down towards the floor. And when I raised it back up, everything went back into place, but I'm sure that had to have done some damage to the track. Let's see if we can get this going here. Hopefully the Hiawatha can handle the inside radius. I don't know if I've run it this way before. I have a question. Can you fix Gscale? I've never opened up a Gscale locomotive before, but I did order one from eBay, which is in storage, so I'm gonna have a crack at it. Do you have a Dremel? Do you have to Dremel your switches to get them to not derail your locomotives or rolling stock? I find some Atlas switches and Bachmann Easy Trek switches need some modifications to work right. That's not entirely uncommon. There have been a couple of switches I've had to file, but most of my switches are Pico. I've only got a few Atlas switches, and I've had a couple bad Pico switches, but more often than not, they've been quite reliable. The main reason I like the Pico switches is because they have an internal spring, so you don't have that unit on the side. And the other thing I really like about them is because they're British switches, their roots are 00. So since I'm operating both HO and 00 locomotives, the Pico switches work a little bit better with the British equipment. So it's really the only reason. Like this right here is an Atlas switch, and it's been all right. What's your opinion on Canadian locomotives stuck within the United States? Well, I'm quite grateful for it, because I suspect if the American museums hadn't picked up all of Canada's engines, I bet a lot of them would have just gone off to scrap. Because my understanding is that Canada was behind with getting rid of its steam locomotives. Like, the US was about 10 years ahead of the Canadians with scrapping steam engines, and so by the time a lot of preservation societies went out looking for steam engines, there weren't as many American engines around because a lot of them had already been scrapped, whereas Canada was only just getting into that process, so they kind of just claimed a bunch of engines. And since they're very similar to what you might see in the States. I guess they thought it would be okay from a heritage standpoint. Have you heard about Canadian Pacific 2816 in Mexico? I haven't heard any recent news about that. I remember all that news back when they were doing the run from Canada to Mexico. From what I understand, that was kind of a disaster. What's your opinion on Green Day? What's your favorite song from them? I don't think I've heard too many songs from Green Day. I'm trying to think. Boulevard of Broken Dreams, maybe? You should try to make it to next year's Amherst train show. It's the largest in the U.S. That has been one of interest. I'm learning how to solder. Any tips? Prepare your surfaces well, because if you have like oxidized metal, it's not going to bond very well. And make sure you use flux, because when I was new to soldering, my first soldering iron came with solder, but it didn't come with any flux, and so I was always spilling solder all over the place because it wasn't actually flooding. So a little bit of flux goes a long way. You got the trolley running? Yep. Do you have any Lehigh Valley locomotives? If so, can you run one? I'm sure I do. I'm just trying to think of where. I feel like I bought one in Florida a couple years ago. I'm sure I have one. I'm just trying to think of which one. I don't know why, but I think it's on this shelf. I don't see it. How many starter set locomotives do you have? Starter set quality, I mean, most of my collection is made up of starter set locomotives. Like a lot of these are not very high end. I love the collection though. I love working with the older stuff. I mean, there are some gems in terms of more high end equipment in here, but a lot of them are run down old Tycos and things like that. Have you heard Hank Snow's Southbound? Probably at some point. Mike Muritz, welcome. Where's Chloe? Oh, she's just at home. How many Virginia and Truckee locomotives? I don't think I have anything from that railroad. Are you still in school or college? What are you studying? No, I'm out of school. What are your other hobbies outside of model trains and YouTube? Also, I loved your recent video. Keep it up. As I mentioned earlier, quite like classic cars, classic boats. Also have a horse. Paddleboarding's pretty fun. And economics, but that's kind of boring. Please run the Wakefield train. I could definitely run it with a diesel. What's your opinion on the 1957 Chevy Bel Air? It's my dream car. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. All the stuff, like, I don't know, my favorite era of cars is kind of like 1950 to 1980, roughly, that sort of range. Kind of when the big three had, like, their heyday. There are some cars from the 2000s and 2010s, which I like, but not as much as the stuff they were rolling out with. Do you have any Southern Railway? Yes. This is a engine I picked up while I was in Florida a while back. No idea if it will run, but we'll try it out. Need to set this up a little bit closer. Do you have BC Rail? Yeah. Do you have any job outside of YouTube? I have a outboard recycling business / repair business. It's not anything too major, but the thing I discovered a few years ago, I wouldn't say scammed, but I bought a motor, an outboard, which was supposed to be in working condition, and I thought it would be better than the one I currently had on my boat. Anyway, it turned out to have a bad piston, so, you know, the cost to repair it would be way more than it was worth. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just part this thing out and see if I can get my money back. And when all is said and done, I think I had made a profit of like $400. So I was like, oh, there's money in these things. And the conclusion I've come to with the old outboards is that if you have a motor which has a bad piston, it's beyond repair. So somebody who owns that motor is going to want to have it off their books for practically nothing. So you can buy like a blown up motor for, you know, $100. But like that one bad piston is only like 10% of the motor, which means the other 90% is still in good shape and is still worth, you know, close to its full value. And boat parts are very expensive. So yeah, I just part them out and list the parts online, and usually make a profit of about $500-800 on each motor. I like 90s cars. The 90s Japanese and German cars are pretty nice, but personally, I'm not as big a fan of kind of the more bubbly stuff. That's definitely going to derail. Uh-oh. I got a Kato P42 with DCC. It cost me around $50. The couplings are gone. Well, $50 is a very good price for one of those. I tell you what, a couple coupling pockets and some Katie's is only going to run you like $10. So yeah, what a deal. I really want a 90s Buick LeSabre. Will you ever get more Japanese engines? I already have a few in storage at the moment. I don't even know what they are. Just broken stuff I've imported from Japan. Can you think of a brilliant starter set that Bachmann is selling for first-timers, good budget and quality? It's the cheap ones. The cheapest ones are the best ones in my opinion. And I know that seems kind of backwards, but it's like the really cheap locomotives that Bachmann currently has have less moving parts than, say, one of their Southern Pacific Daylight engines. I definitely would not get one of their starter sets with a steam engine. But yeah, those kind of like $120 Bachmann train sets you can buy off Amazon. It doesn't really matter which one. It should be fine. I would expect it to work right out of the box. Where it's going to be standing 10 years up the road, depending on how rough you run it, I don't know. But I don't know. The diesels are very simple things. So maybe like their Thoroughbred Express. I think that was the one I bought recently, and it was all right. How do the sections under the bridges stay up without falling? Oh, they're pretty solid. Like, that's plywood I've built most of those out of. Do you plan to get the Lionel HO Polar Express ready to run? Not the full train set, but I did buy the locomotive and I think 4 passenger cars. So that's, I have that in storage. I don't know, I bought it after Christmas in like January, and I'm like, it's just kind of weird to do a video about a Christmas themed train out of Christmas, so I'll probably open that in December or something, who knows. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Train Lover 4449. Leaving the stream soon, just asking how the RJ Corman 2008 project's coming along. I'll show you. So if you saw the first video where I bought this engine, it still had its, I want to call them fenders, but that's not right. Deflectors? Smoke deflectors. It still had its smoke deflectors in place. Those have been removed. I painted this. I also removed all the Chinese signage off the engine. So now all I've got to do is I've got to get some skirts for it, and I've also got to paint the tender. I'll be nice to actually replace this tender because it's not even the right one. But recently, David Z to Gscale also sent in a RJ Corman diesel, so if you ever see videos of this engine operating, it always has a diesel helper. So the project has moved at least a step forward in that sense. Can you run the kit-bashed Yellowstone? I don't see why not. Hopefully it will start. Wonder how many hours went into all the scenery. I have no clue, especially since this has all been rebuilt so many times. Like, once in a while I post old pictures of the layout, and it's recognizable, but it's been redone over and over and over again, so too many to count. I'll just stop the Hayawa here. I think the Yellowstone will run on the inside track. We'll have to see. Speaking of RJ Corman, I heard they took over some switching / local jobs for BNSF in Houston. If they said when BNSF workers found out about it, they walked right off the job in protest. Can I see the Hiawatha up close? I have family history with it. Yeah, sure. I'll bring it up front here so you can have a nice look at that engine, and I'll go fetch the Yellowstone. I'll do a slow pass by. You got the one that went 125 miles. I didn't know that was the one. If there was a locomotive I could see brought back to life, that would be the one I would want. Okay, let's see if it goes. Wait, where's the bell? It probably fell off when it derailed in a previous live stream. Pac-Man's eating the main products. That's true. Where'd you buy your Aussie locomotives from? All of it came from eBay. Do you ever go to Comic-Con? No, I've never been to anything like that. Didn't you get a BNSF -9 when you made the video on the train simulator for your layout? No, I misspoke. It's this right here, I think is an AC 4400, but I got mixed up, so I said the wrong thing when I made that video. How long did it take to build this? The whole setup has been 17 years in the making, but building a layout is a lot faster than 17 years. It's just because this has been redone so many times. Ever done anything with Lego trains? The only Lego train set I ever had was the Horizon Express. Me and my family were in New York City. It was 2013, and we found it at the Lego store. I was pretty psyched about that. This is an interesting accident. That's funny. It did not derail the locomotive, but the slack in the train caused a car up the line to derail. But at least it did start. I just ordered an Athearn Gold Series DCC sound locomotive online. What's your opinion on Athearn locomotives? I quite like them. I think that they still make a pretty good product. I have heard of some people having circuit board issues with them. I haven't encountered that myself, but I've got to say, like, I got that via P42 about a year ago, and the sound quality on that thing I think is the best I've ever heard from any manufacturer's product. Have you ever got a CNJ Blue Comet? I don't think I have one of those. And I better not go shopping for a Lionel one. Transport Canada investigation for the derailment. Yeah. The derailment was caused by somebody operating sketchy heritage equipment on the main line. Just subscribe. The cell looks great. Thank you. Do you have any problems with dust? Yeah, this environment is pretty dusty, but in terms of dealing with dust, I just take all the buildings off and I sweep them with a paintbrush. And then for the streets and everything else, I just take a vacuum, really low pressure, and just kind of vacuum everything off. And seems to do an okay job. Sometimes if the grass gets a little bit too matted with dust, you can just put a new layer of grass right over it. Can you please run a GG1? Yeah, sure. Stick with the old Rivarossi Blue Comet. Yeah, exactly. You have the Rivarossi one and you won't end up in a episode of The Sopranos. I believe Nerf Cat picks up all the dust while walking around the layout. Yeah, he's pretty much like a Swiffer. Is the AC 4400 DCC in sound? Yeah. Let's see if the GG1 will run here. Are you gonna sell your trains for new ones? I'll continue to turn some equipment over, but there's lots of junky engines I have, and I have no intention of selling them. I've gotten quite a few comments from people over the years saying, why don't you, sell off all the crap and, buy just a handful of really high-end locomotives. And, I get it. Like, from a practical standpoint, it is, I guess, better to have like a whole bunch of scale trains products, which are going to be dead reliable. But truth be told, like, as much as I like having a couple really nice engines, I get a lot more joy out of the junky stuff. Same goes for the layout. Rail fan shot. Yeah, sure. That's right, Doug. Not junk. It's junku. I'm gonna need some scripts so I can continue on with my alter ego of being whatever the name people came up for me as a rail fan last time. I think it was 44 or 49 Trainman Productions or something like that. The only thing with the scale trains BNSF AC 4400 is the default horn isn't all that strong. Could just be the BNSF uses in real life. But I felt they were a bit quiet. This sounds really quiet to me. I don't know if the CVs can be adjusted to make that louder, but I can tell you my Athearn P42 is probably 2 or 3 times as loud as this is. It's just the default sound of it running is pretty loud. What is your dream car? Mine is a 1969 Dodge Super Bee. Maybe a 1969 Dodge Charger, but honestly, I love my Oldsmobile. I pretty much have my dream car. I want to get it running a bit better, but it's in existence. I lowered the volume on the Athearn P42. It sounds way too loud for what it is. I like how loud it is. I find it makes the sound kind of carry as if it's like a real train. Oldsmobile, what kind? 1979 Regency 98. The 403 6.6 liter V8. I would probably keep my first train because of the good memories it brings, because it's what started my love for model trains. My first train is actually the Bachmann BNSF Rail Chief. I had one of those sets. It was a pretty fun one. Is there a specific brand for all this stuff? Like, buildings go with the same brand as the trains. I want to get into this hobby. There's a bunch of different brands. For buildings, Woodland Scenics makes buildings. Walthers makes buildings. There's some other manufacturers, but I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But one of the best things about model railroading, and this is something which I do not think can be said for other hobbies, is that almost everything is cross-compatible. So right now, we've got a Scale Trains locomotive running on a mixture of Atlas and Pico track, being powered by a Digitrax controller, and on the inside circuit being powered by an MRC controller. And we've got an engine which was made like a year ago and an engine that's like 30 years old. It's all working together. So my point is that if you want to mix and match buildings and things like that, it should all work, and there's very few exceptions to the rule. I just got my first model train a few days ago. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the hobby. Would you recommend laying track first or detail on a new layout? Definitely track. I mean, first of all, if you lay the track out, you know, you can run a train without any scenery, so that's kind of fun. But the other thing too is that, like, if you make a mistake with laying out your track and then you ballast it, trying to undo that mistake is a lot harder than if, you know, you had given it some endurance testing. I don't have very good track work. Should I just stay away from DCC? Yeah, if you're using really old brass track or your track work is prone to causing a lot of derailments or short circuits, DCC is gonna be a little bit more sensitive with that. DCC systems are not compatible with each other, and one brand of track is not compatible with another unless you squash the rail joiners together to make it work. I kind of disagree. I mean, in terms of controllers, you're right. You can't just plug in, you can't daisy chain a Digitrax controller to an NCE controller, but you can run a Digitrax decoder with an NCE controller, so there is cross compatibility there. And in terms of track, unless you have a mixture of different codes, like if you have, you know, code 73 and code 100, they're not going to work together unless you have some sort of a rail in between. But as I said, you can mix different brands, and even with the roadbed track, they sell converters so that you can connect, like, let's say Walther's Powerlock track to Bachmann Easy track. So there might be some workarounds, like it maybe right out of the box everything is not 100% cross compatible, but it's possible, in my opinion, to make just about anything work together. And I can tell you from, you know, being in the hobby of boats and being in the hobby, you know, being in other hobbies, you can't, like with boats, you can't take a Mercury part and put it on an Evinrude. It doesn't work like that. So I find that's one really strong suit this hobby has. Does anyone have Whittle shortline trains? I have a Via Rail FP40 and a CSX C44 9W. I don't understand. Is Bachmann Easy Track good for a floor layout or a room as well? It's okay. It will get the job done. The Easy Track with the black roadbed uses steel, which is a little bit more prone to oxidization. I haven't had that problem myself with it, but if you live in a humid area like Florida, I could see it becoming a problem over time. The only other problem I've had with it is that the rail joiners also seem to wear out. But if you just need something for, you know, 5 years, it should get by just fine. I have a boat. I don't know much about it. It has Mercury 175. Will you ever make the layout a complete circuit like the trains? Well, I had this circuit operating earlier, and unfortunately, I don't think it's currently operational, but I have had this idea for a while of eventually running a line behind the Hershey factory and then running a bridge across here or something crazy like that, and having a lift-out section to make one massive kind of box layout. Have you ever thought about drawing a track plan you might find in a model railroad magazine? That's how I've built most of my layouts. Like before 2023, I'd never actually used any track planning software, and truth be told, I find it will get by, like just as long as you have a width of 4 feet that's wide enough to put 22 radius curves, so you can kind of start to roughly measure things out. The only thing that's nice about track planning software is that it's not a 100% guarantee it will fit, but it's definitely more accurate than just mapping it out manually. Will you ever do a video on your Flying Scotsman? I might. I ended up buying another one though, because the current one I have, I think the windings might be going bad on it. Can you show us the Hershey factory? Yeah, sure. I've been doing more research on this factory through Hershey's itself. I've contacted the Hershey Archive in Pennsylvania. I've had limited success, but it is crazy some of the history I've learned about the company and stuff, like when they very first showed up in Canada. Like, you would think a company like Hershey's, like even in 1963, would be really well established and, you know, quite careful with how it made business decisions. But I tell you, the executives at Hershey's in the early 60s were absolute cowboys. Like, they didn't actually have any proof that the company would do well in Canada. They didn't have a market here. And the only reason they thought that their chocolate might sell well in Canada is because they noticed that per capita in border towns, the sales were higher. So they knew Canadians were buying the chocolate, but they didn't have any advertising plan or anything. They just said, we're going to set up a factory and build and they will come. And so anyway, it did work out in the end, but I'm just surprised as I start to learn more about this place, the risks they took when they set it up. I replaced my Easy Track with Atlas Flex Track. It's so much better. Well, just reducing the amount of rail joiners you have is definitely a good thing. What's your favorite railroad? My favorite Canadian railroad, I think, is Canadian National. My favorite American railroad is BNSF. I bought a Scale Trains CSX locomotive from a hobby shop as a running model. I got it home and it ran a bit and the motor burnt up. I took it back and they wouldn't take it back because they said it's not new now. I'm sorry to hear that. Great layout, a lot of attention to detail. What are the dimensions of the main line? It's a 4x16. Hey SMT, do you have any tips for finding model trains for less than $50? I think the only place you're likely going to find a train set for that kind of money is a train show. What track planning software do you suggest? I haven't worked with too many of them. I use Rail Modeler Pro, and so far it's been great. It did cost me $60, so it wasn't free, but it does a good job. There are some free ones though. I think Atlas has their own track planning software, and there's also SCARM, which is pretty much the same thing. The thing I like about Rail Modeler Pro though is that they have every brand of track. Like they even have like Fratelli and all these, you know, brands which aren't very well known. And they have different scales and everything like that. So that's been very helpful because recently I've been trying to develop a layout using the Kato brand of track. But the Japanese track is metric, whereas most of the other brands use imperial. And so I'm glad that I had that software because trying to kind of do the math in my head with metric measurements was really difficult. Have you heard of the YouTuber Train of Thought? His most popular video is on the CNRY cab that powered a town's electricity for a few nights during an ice storm. I don't remember the channel by name, but I know the video you're talking about. Yeah, it seems like a decent channel. You 3D print any of your accessories? I 3D printed lots of parts for the layout and some locomotives, but personally I haven't developed too many parts. I've just printed stuff that's already in existence. Is that a streetcar on the layout? Yeah, it sure is. I'll try to slow down the speed here. I'm also just gonna shut off the sound on this engine 'cause it's kind of loud. That's better. Can you run the Dreyfus Hudson? Yeah. Hopefully it will start okay. That engine, I think, is gonna need a new transmission pretty soon. Can you change the gear ratio on model trains to make it run faster? Absolutely. Trying to find the parts to do such a thing might be a bit of a challenge, but it's entirely possible. Most people do the opposite, though. I know for Athearn Blue Box locomotives, there were some kits that would actually add a second gearbox to the existing gearbox. I think to give you another 30 to 1 gear reduction. I have a couple engines with those kits, and they run ridiculously slow. The motor's revving to like 8,000 RPM, and the engine's just creeping along. I should bring one of those out just to show how they run. Do you run DCC at all? Yeah, I mean, the BNSF engine is running off DCC. What are the members like at your train club? Most of them are pretty good. I'm part of, well, I don't know. I haven't been to either of my train clubs in a long time. I don't really know what's going on there. One of the train clubs I'm part of is extremely chill. It's just a bunch of old dudes, and they just like to, run some different trains and stuff like that. And they'll let me run whatever I want, they're just really easygoing. The other train club I was part of was a little bit more structured, I guess you could say. And that had its benefits, but I feel like some people around there who weren't even supposed to really be authority figures would kind of act like it. And I actually had a train get kicked off the layout once and stuff. Just a lot of rules. So I wasn't as crazy about that, honestly. But there were some good people around there. The only really cool thing about the other train club was that because of the rules, they made you go through a training process. And so I was working with this guy. He was really nice. His name's Colin. He's actually a historian for a lot of Canadian railway history. So I think he has a website. I forget what it might be called Colin Church or something like that. But anyway, I was chatting with him, and he seemed to know a lot about trains because I didn't know about his historical work. And anyway, I contacted him, or I didn't contact him, but I was chatting with him and just saying, how'd you learn so much? And he was talking about how he grew up in England with steam locomotives, and then he moved to Canada, and then he was working for Transport Canada. And it was funny because my grandfather also worked for Transport Canada. So I said what his name was, and he was like, "You're kidding. He was my boss for 10 years. And so it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool getting to hear stories of him actually working with my granddad. Like, what are the chances, eh? You're just at like a train club, and turns out your family was working with the same guy who's teaching you to run your trains on the layout. But yeah, he's a good guy. He actually helped me a lot when I was looking for pictures for the Hershey factory. I just ordered my dream train set. It's an old Bachmann TGV train set, and I ordered a couple of DCC decoders for it. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know Bachmann made a TGV set. You're in the RJ Corman locomotives? Yeah, probably so. I have a little switcher engineered with a gear ratio to make it go painfully slow. Yeah, I mean, those things are just hilarious. I'll see, I definitely have at least one in the collection. I'll see if I can find it here. It was an old Canadian Pacific. I think it might have been lightly weathered. I was pretty sure it was in storage somewhere around here. It could be this one. Pretty sure it's this one. I'll find out soon enough. Carter's Games. I have my grandpa's and great-grandpa's Lionel sets. I try to use them, but I can't get to very often. Yeah, this is definitely it. You can see relative to the speeds that some of these other things are doing with the same amount of power, like pretty slow. I should really throw some couplers on it though. I'm sure that it would run pretty well. Haul in freight and so on. Is running DC locomotives at a slow speed like the BNSF locomotive bad for the motor? Will it burn it out? Kind of. I find that running engines at a... Well, I'll try to show you kind of more than just say what I'm talking about here. I'm going to switch it over here. So I'm going to run everything off the layout, off the same controller here. So the whole layout's running off this. And what you see, if I... Actually, I'll take the DCC engine off for this example here. Yeah, you see as you add voltage, there's nothing seriously start. There we go. As you add voltage, you can see that very first little bit of voltage really makes the current draw spike, but then as you see, as you continue to add voltage, the current draw pretty much remains the same, even though you're still adding more volts, which means at a low RPM, the motor is not cooling very well, but it's generating roughly the same amount of heat. Whereas when you're at wide open throttle, the current draw is only slightly higher, but the motor is doing a higher RPM, so there's more cooling going through there. The thing that I find will destroy a motor faster than anything, though, is how much strain is on it. So if you're running an engine which hasn't been serviced in a while and the gears are sticky and maybe have some dust or hair in them, there's going to be a lot of strain on the motor. And then if you put a train behind that, you're adding even more weight, and then you're going to have a situation where the motor is not running at a very high RPM, but it's being given a lot of voltage, and then that's where you get a situation where the windings are most likely to fail. I find 9 times out of 10, though, if a motor is smoking, it's because the commutator's dirty, not because the windings are bad. So always clean the commutator first, because you might be able to save the motor. You should make more Gscale content. I asked before, also, do you remember me from the last live stream? I think you were talking about that in the last live stream. Yeah, well, I think I mentioned I did buy a Gscale engine, so probably will be a repair on that soon. So we got a super chat. Can you run the Pittsburgh-Toronto PCC streetcar now? Yes. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Crap. Run the GG1 again. I already ran it. We'll run some different things. You run those sweet. Yeah, we'll throw that on in a minute. I'll get the streetcar going first. It's funny because last time the Hudson was making some really funky noises and totally quieted back down. So I guess the transmission just rebuilt itself. That's always nice. Ah, this must have wired it backwards or something. If I spin it around here, is it just going to go the other way? I think I need to feed this thing more volts. You run something New Jersey? Yeah, sure. Let me just get this operational. I don't know why this doesn't want to run. Weird. It definitely did move a little bit under its own power there, and now it just seems to not want to go. So I don't know if I broke a wire or what's going on with this. I'm sorry about that, Ed. I don't know why it's doing that now. Brass. We'll try to... I don't think the motor failed. I think it probably just has a bad soldering connection or something. Stick your tongue to the track to test for voltage. Oh yeah, that will work. The horse has been jumping over the fence forever. Set him free. I wonder if the Lifelike has the guts to haul this train. Probably. Yeah, that's going to cause a derailment right there. Do you like Billy Joel's music? I love Billy Joel's music. It's hard to see what happened to him recently. Things are okay. I heard he canceled all of his concerts. Yeah, Billy Joel has some amazing songs. I was fortunate enough to see him about a year ago in Madison Square Garden. It is really wild. Like, I'm not the kind of person who's like an obsessed fan with anybody, but it is really wild, like, I don't know, seeing an artist in concert, especially a famous one, just because it's like, I don't know, just years of like listening to their music, and you could be in a restaurant hearing their songs and stuff, like, you know, it's played kind of like a part in your life, and it's just kind of surreal, and being like, that's the person who sang that song. It's, I don't know, there's something cool about that. New Jersey Transit engine's doing a pretty good job for the size of train. Dim the lights so we... Yeah, okay. Can you make a rail fan channel? To tell you the truth, I feel like there's already a lot of people out there who do a much better job than I ever would at such a thing. And moreover, there's hardly anything to rail fan in the area. Ottawa is just, I don't know, it's like a dead zone for rail. We have like Via, we have the O train, and one train a week from Ottawa Central. Do you like Boxcar Willie's music? I do. I haven't heard near to as many of his songs as some other artists, but what I have heard is good, yeah. Run something Rock Island. Yeah, sure. Rock Island Line is a mighty good road. The Rock Island Line is a road to ride. This thing is gonna rip right off the track, I guarantee it. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna tone down the power just a little here. That's more like it. That's rapid transit. Yeah, exactly. All these countries around the world, like the Japanese and the French, spent years trying to perfect the world's fastest train. And little did they know, all they needed was marks to build a 1-to-1 scale version of this. Fastest train on Earth. Flanges are definitely picking some of my track work. Is your layout DC or DCC? It's a hybrid. Have you ever seen the Dale Earnhardt train set? I haven't seen one in person, but I have seen those on eBay before. Whoops. We'll have another running in the 90s playing in the background. Yeah. Okay. I think that's enough of that one for tonight. As a wise man once said, power and speed solves many things. Who's that? Jeremy Clarkson? RJ Corman. Yeah, we can run those. Take off the lifelike. What's your opinion on Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne? I like it. I think it's a great song. I included it in the video of running the big boy on that ridiculously small layout. This thing's seizing? That doesn't seem good. Lay the camera on the side of the track for, okay, yeah, sure. Did you used to follow Shoestring Smith? If I'm thinking of the same guy, he was the one who was doing those train hopping videos, and if so, then yes, I was a fan of his channel. Is the R.J. Corman Locomotive DCC? Yes, it is. Perfect rail fanning angle. Now I just need to get my commentary going here. Hey guys, welcome back to Harrison 4449 Railfan Productions. Today we're on the Dunderville sub between Greenhawk and Blankville. I haven't checked in on this channel in a while, and the layout has expanded tremendously. Yeah, it's definitely a bigger operation than it once was. A little bit more complete looking too. I was watching a video the other day from like 2022, and I was surprised just how kind of bare a lot of it looks. Harrison 4449 Productions is fire. I think that the tree is causing the camera to kind of focus. Yeah, there we go. Is all of your layout moving to the garage? Definitely these three sections. I'm not sure about the Hershey factory. Are you going to run all your HO steam engines again? Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to do an update on that. That's going to be a big one, though. Dreyfus Hudson is sweet. Is it a Rossi? Yes, it sure is. I used to watch this channel all the time back a few years ago. Nice to see your live streams again. Oh, welcome back. Hi SMT, what do you think about having the best train collection in existence? I feel very fortunate to have it. I mean, I guess it would depend on who you'd ask, because I know there'd be some people who would say it's a pile of crap. It's all old junky engines, but it's exactly what I want. When I was a kid, my dream was to have a shelf of a bunch of different engines. That's what I always wanted. So it's a dream come true. A lot of fun just running this stuff around too. I love, taking something off the shelf, seeing if it will start. What's the weirdest engine you own? I've got a couple. Got the Super Chief. That's a bit of a weird one. I also have a Canadian National GS4. I feel like there's still some I'm missing. Got this really weird looking unstoppable engine. I don't know where that is at the moment. See if I can find it, but I bought this kit bashed engine from Ginfire a while back, and it's something all right. I thought I put it into storage on this shelf or the other one. I'm pretty sure it's here. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. Would you do another outdoor garden rail vid? Maybe so. I don't know. Here it is. Yeah, this thing is pretty jacked. I mean, I like this kind of stuff, but for any of you who browse on eBay for a while, you will kind of find that you will stumble across this kind of stuff. And yeah, there's this one seller. It's called the Rock and Roll Trains Emporium, who's also known as Ginfire. And I don't know the guy personally, but there's some really cool stuff on there. And Sparky says, what is the hardest brand to work on? Do you have one with a story that runs? The only engines I think I have like a really crazy story about would be, my grandmother's old stuff. As for what brand is the hardest to work on, probably the really old Bachmann steam engines. Those things are pretty difficult. Athearn steam locomotives are also a bit of a nightmare to work on. I think that Dreyfus Hudson might be overheating. I feel like we're losing RPMs. That was definitely running faster earlier. Is it hot? Yeah. It's kind of warm. Yeah, it is overheating. Well, at least we caught it in time. Your layout is getting awesome, Harrison. This is Adam, one of your cool subscribers. I got about 141 engines myself. That's pretty good. I saw a Canadiana shark nose. How and why do you have it? The shark nose, I found it in a junk lot. Man, this is a good story. I'll try to run it. It's a bit of a finicky engine, but yeah, this is a good one. So years ago, I was browsing eBay. There was a junk lot of 4 locomotives, but somebody listed the front picture as 1 engine, but there was actually 4 in the lot. So I started looking through the pictures, and I noticed in the lot there was one of these, and they're somewhat rare. So I placed a bid on the auction, but I had to go. Me and my family were going skating, so I wasn't going to be able to keep an eye on the auction. I wasn't sure if somebody was going to outbid me. So we left, and when we came back, I was surprised to see that I'd won the auction. Now, when I got this thing, it was not a complete locomotive. The parts were there, but it was in many pieces. Somebody had either dropped it really bad or disassembled it. And yeah, that's how I got it. The thing about the Canadianas, though, is that they're not as rare as a lot of people seem to think, because I get so many comments being like, oh, where do you find a Canadiana? Where do you find a Canadiana? Like, these shark nose ones are somewhat rare, but the C430s in Canada are pretty common. I think it's just because they were only sold in Canada, that if you're in the States, trying to find one is a little bit trickier. Because I see the C430s going for like $150, whereas like at a lot of train shows, you'll find those for like $15. What causes overheating? Too much strain on the motor. So there could be something jamming up in the gearbox. Might just need fresh oil, honestly. Oh, yeah, nice. Started the first try this time. What's the difference between HO and double O scale? Double O scale is, I think, 1 in 70, 1 in 78. Don't quote me on that, but double O scale is just slightly larger than HO. It's very similar, but it's not 1-to-1. And most double O scale equipment will work on HO track. 1 in 76, that's right. So it's close enough where it will work together, but if you're running like double O scale engines on an HO layout like I have, technically it's not to scale. So a lot of British engines, they look like they're about the same size as a lot of my American engines, but that's only because they're a larger scale, even though in reality they're smaller locomotives. So they're smaller locomotives, but they're scaled up, if that makes sense. Do you have any advice for getting a Tyco Mantua 262 running better? I tried cleaning the wheels and it runs better, but it's still a rough runner. Okay, I mean, I'd check all the rods, make sure they're straight and that they're not interfering, like they're not contacting each other, because that can be a common problem. But another really common problem that the old Mantua Tycos have is that they had like a thrust washer which was made out of plastic. And because the locomotive is almost always going forwards, it tends to wear out that thrust washer. So if you have a Tyco manual locomotive and it runs really fast in reverse but really slow going forwards, you've got a bad thrust washer. But if I'm not mistaken, I think you can swap them out. So I think you can take the good thrust washer on the back, put it up front, and then you'll get an engine which runs better. This was something that somebody from Tyco actually taught me. He was an ex-Tyco employee, and he contacted me one day and explained that after I had that problem. So this is something to keep in mind. Controller Packers, welcome. I haven't heard... Oh, so the locomotive I won was this. Which is better, Athearn, Genesis, Rapido, or Atlas? Tell the reason why. I would probably say Atlas has the best reputation of the 3. Not to put down Rapido or Athearn. I've just heard more stories about there being problems with Athearns. Personally, I haven't had problems with either Atlas or Athearn. The only problem I have had with some Rapido products is faulty decoders. I had 3 engines I bought brand new. Those ones are DC. Those haven't given me any trouble, but I do have a couple DCC engines, and they do some weird things. I think modern Rapido engines have better decoders than the older ones, though, because I think earlier Rapido models, they were putting motors which were prone to having issues. I was actually fixing up a locomotive for Nathan Delay, and his decoder went bad, and so I was, trying to kind of get to the bottom of why that happened. So I ended up just pulling the decoder right out of it and bypassing it with wires, and what I found was that the motor was drawing more current than it should have. So I think what's happening is the motor is so small, it's fouling the commutator. That's causing high current draw, and then that's frying the decoder. So it might not even be a decoder problem. It could purely be with the motors. Hey Harrison, I was just wondering if you have a Hershey trolley by the chance your layout. If so, you don't have one, send your info to me. I'd have to look. I might have got one in a lot recently. What's the number on your RJ Corman locomotive? I have 1806. Is it an Intermountain? I thought the speaker was crap. I swapped it with a scale sound speaker, much better. So this locomotive is number... I'll just slow this down a bit here. 3804, but this one's made by Atlas. Oh, the old Tyco is just sending it. Canadiana running ludicrous speed. Yeah, and I mean, that's only at like... there's full throttle right there. What should I get at a train store in California? Well, it depends on the store. If it's Ernie's Trains, though, I tell you what, it's probably going to be a good place. I went there once. I was very impressed. Have you ever heard of an old manufacturer called Carlisle and Finch? I don't think I have. I did manage to get my hands on an engine. I'm trying to remember the brand. I'd have to look it up. But I found a 1940s era GS4, really old American manufacturer. It is Ernie's Trains, and it's great. Yeah, I figured. It's a famous one. I went there... I think I was 12. It was April 2013. My birthday had just gone by, and I got some spending money, and we went on a trip to Los Angeles to go see my uncles, who, unbeknownst to me, were actually living in a loft, which actually used to be a office for the Santa Fe Railroad. So it still had all the old signage from the Santa Fe, which was pretty cool. But yeah, one of the days while we were there, we went to Ernie's Trains, and I just couldn't believe it. So much cool stuff. I don't have my phone on me, but I kind of want to go on eBay and see if I can find the name of the engine that I bought there. I think it was George Rhodes. I think that might be it. What are your thoughts on Thomas the Tank Engine? I loved the show as a kid. I had it on VHS. I never got into the animated version of it. I just had all the old stuff from the 80s. Just going through my eBay history here, see if I can find the really cool GS4 there. See if I can look it up. Yeah, it's a George D. stock. Handcrafted brass daylight. Apparently, they're incredibly rare. It's always hard to say with eBay, though. Like, rare is kind of a dirty word. I swear people will put rare in front of everything. Like, I don't know. It could be like a Bachmann Rail Chief train set, and somebody would say, oh, this is a rare train set. Rare and vintage. Those are the two buzzwords that eBay sellers can't seem to get enough of. Got any trips planned for the summer? Well, next few days going down to Maine, so there's one. Unlucky Tug channel has some amazing videos on Thomas. Unlucky Tug is a great channel. I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of Thomas content, but I do really like his historical videos. I feel pretty sorry for what happened to his original channel, thanks to Thomas. I'm being kind of litigious, but yeah, good channel. A rare 1996 Toyota Camry. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what they do that for. I don't know if it's to try to make it seem more valuable or something, because rare does not always mean, it's not always a good thing. Like, if something's rare, it might be hard to get parts for. Like, there is something to be said for generic products. They're cheap to run. When you go to Maine, try visiting the abandoned logging railroad. That would be cool, but I don't think I'm anywhere near that, because I'm in Arundel, and I think those abandoned engines are 3 hours away from there, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes things are rare for a good reason, like Yugos in North America. Yeah, exactly. The Yugo. I think one of my dad's buddies had one of those. His parents had bought a Cadillac, and the Cadillac dealership had somehow gotten a whole bunch of Yugos that they just wanted to get off their books. So if you bought a Cadillac, it came with a free Yugo. It's a pretty strange deal, but I guess they bought a Cadillac and then they gave their son the Yugo. I think it only lasted him a few years. It might be because I think the Yugos might, I think the EPA might have banned them or something. There was some story about that. Have you ever heard of the Erdene Carolina Western Railroad? They have a lot of XCM power, including a bunch of SD60Fs. I haven't actually. That's the first time. Thanks for sharing. Apparently, Yugo is trying to make a comeback. Well, I'd be curious to see what they do. If somebody could make a really good economy car, I feel like that might do well these days, just because everything is so expensive. But it's tough to say, though. I mean, I feel like people say, oh, yeah, this is too expensive, but then they're like, I want my Bluetooth radio and all this other stuff. So, yeah, it's hard to say if people really want that. Do you know how to drive manual? Not really. I have driven manual vehicles before, but I've never driven a manual car because my girlfriend, her family has a manual. I think it's a G4. It's an old Bombardier not a snowmobile, but one of those snow tractors, and that's manual. So I was driving that around, but no, my family never owned any manual cars. I always had automatics. I'd be happy with an air-cooled VW Beetle, but right now I got a 1986 Chevy Silverado. Quick question, I was wondering if you've ever been interested in trying any of the Gscale Hawthorne Village train sets. Just curious because I recently got one. I know they're not the most realistic. If I'm not mistaken, Hawthorne Village is a division of Bachmann. Or if they're not, I think Bachmann's at least making their stuff, because I've seen some Hawthorne Village products. Like I remember I was at an antique store in Maine and I found like a baseball themed Hawthorne Village locomotive, and it looked identical to a Bachmann. So I mean, it might be fun to get one if there's a theme they come up with that I like, but I feel like a lot of it wouldn't be much different than just buying a regular Bachmann set. I'm hoping I'm not getting on your nerves for asking, do you have your T1 duplex from Bowser? Yeah, I still have it. I'll see if it will run. As long as you're not driving a Kia or a Hyundai, then you should be good. Those things are pieces of crap and burn oil like crazy. Well, I have no doubt that a Kia or a Hyundai doesn't have as high quality an engine as pretty much all the other brands, and especially like a Toyota. But I will say, I feel like a lot of people who own a Kia or a Hyundai also just don't maintain them very well. Because I have a friend and she does not take good care of her Kia. Like, she doesn't keep on top of oil changes and stuff. Barely maintains it. It's still running at 150,000 miles. Like, I don't know how. So are they great? Probably not, but I've got to admit I'm impressed it's lasted as long as it has. I also had a friend who had a Hyundai Accent. He was a mechanic. He kept on top of his oil changes, which might explain why it lasted so long, but he used to just thrash that poor car. He would like pin it against a forklift, and then he would just do a burnout, like just redlining it and stuff. And he did this like on a weekly basis. Never destroyed the engine on it. His girlfriend ended up crashing it, and so the frame was ruined. He couldn't put it back on the road, but the engine survived. So your Olds probably runs better than that Kia. That poor car. I'm sure this thing would have enough pulling capacity to haul that train around. I guess we'll try to do that. How's the hunt for the house going? pretty mid, honestly. The market is just not what it once was. Like, I find there's just not a lot of properties being listed, and the ones that are on the market are like, you know, you're looking at about $500,000. I don't have that kind of money, so that's not gonna happen, but we'll see. Once in a while, there have been some properties popping up in about the 300 range. I think that might be feasible. Yeah, time will tell. Love the content. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Exact same thing down here in the US. I mean, I think it's a worldwide issue, but Canada is being hit particularly hard. Like, you can find houses for sale in New York, right on the border, and right across the border in Cornwall, Ontario. They're like 3 times that price, and part of that is because of the exchange rate, but the other thing is that the supply and demand issue is worse here. Let's see if this will start. Yeah. Oh, no. So there's this little hopper here. Can't take the impact. How's his top priority layout room? Well, the good news is if I do succeed in buying a place, then it doesn't really matter what parts of the house I sacrifice to build the layout. Like, you know, I would have no issues running the channel out of the living room. Like, if I have to sacrifice having a TV room and most of a kitchen and stuff, that's fine by me. But yeah, just trying to find a space that actually has a layout. Like, you know, I'm not looking for a fancy house. I don't want anything pretty. Cheaper the better. But trying to find a place that is a reasonable price and doesn't have mold or asbestos or something else, that's a little bit more of a tall order. The tender is bigger than most of your trains. I tend to agree. Something needs oil. It might. It's like my friend's Kia. Hey Harrison, do you ever plan on buying the infamous Queen Elizabeth set? I don't think I ever will. Have you thought about buying land and then building a home? It is a consideration. The only problems I've run into with that kind of idea is that, first of all, trying to find land is tricky. And then if you do find land, there's a lot of regulation about, you know, what kind of house you can build on it. So there's that. But the other really big problem is that, like, if you find a rundown house which is in horrible shape, but it's standing, a bank will look at that as being good collateral if, you know, you don't pay your loan, like if it falls through, right? Like if you default, which means it's really easy to take out a loan, even if it's a really crappy house. Whereas if you're building a home, trying to get a construction loan is darn near impossible. So, you know, that's the biggest issue. Because actually I found a home that was 80% built. Like, it just didn't have siding on it or anything like that, and it was a good price. But again, you couldn't just take out a regular loan on that. New builds are terrible. I would never recommend them. So much corner cutting is going on with homes. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, honestly, I'd way prefer to own something that was built even in the 2000s, like somewhere between, like, I don't know, maybe the 60s and the 2000s. Because, I mean, really old homes might have good framing, but then you know, if you get into stuff from like the 40s, you might have old wiring and stuff. I don't really want that. But I feel like, I don't know, kind of 1960s onward, you're gonna have higher quality. I mean, this place was built in 1989, and look how thick the studs are, and look how close they are together. Like, I've seen modern homes, and it looks nothing like that. And I mean, even compared to homes you see from the 60s, this is thinner wood. So yeah, it's crazy how every year they just take a little more off. A well-known model maker, John Allen, is actually dug a basement under his house for the Gore and Dapid Railroad. What's the oldest locomotive that you own? It might be the Yellowstone. The frame on that, I think, dates back to 1939 or so. The GG1 is probably a close second. The Lionel, I think that was a 1947 model. We have a 7-year-old home, new builds. You're right. These new homes are nothing but cookie cutter homes. Older homes were built stronger. I say new homes are extremely energy efficient, though. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. It was really funny because yeah, years ago we were on a search to get a cottage in Maine, and out in like New England, you get a whole variety. Like, sometimes you find a like a cottage that was built in, like, you know, 2000 or something. It's not that old. But then you get these really old properties that are like from the 1800s. Like, oh yeah, here's this house from like 1850, and you know, a lot of people say, oh, that's so sketchy. Like, it's from the 1800s. Like, it's going to be full of problems. And I mean, maybe in some ways it would, but at the same time too, it's like, if it's been standing since 1850, like, they had to have done something right. Do you have any ideas for Bachmann or Lifelike pancake motors to replace or upgrade the motor? Not really. A lot of the shells will fit on different drive systems. So you, like, if you have like a Bachmann F unit and you really like the shell, you could probably put that on an Athearn drive, and it's going to be a million times better. But there's not a whole lot you can do with the pancake motors. Like, they were cheap kind of throwaway motors that were supposed to be in train sets and stuff like that. The fact that a lot of them are still running 40 years later is kind of remarkable. The squeaking in the freight car. Yeah, it's it's the Rapido cars. Will there be a repair on the New South Wales C38 Lima locomotive you got a while back? Has it already been repaired? I apologize, but I'm not sure which locomotive that is. did repair, let's see if I can find it here. I think it was a Class 52 or something. I repaired one of those recently. Can you do another mystery box video like eBay or Athearn? Yeah, well, I actually got this mystery box off eBay, so it'll be something, but I don't think any other manufacturers are making a mystery box. You know, Rapido had theirs, and then Walthers obviously had theirs, which they were nice enough to include me on, but those are all the ones I'm aware of right now. Never got to see the other part of your layout. Well, I was saying earlier that this kind of fell down while I was disconnecting the Hershey factory, so I don't know. The track, you see how this looks lower? That was not like that before, so I just think that the track work is probably full of problems. And I intend to fix all that. I just don't want to go doing a bunch of repairs because this is all going to shift more, you know, when I move all this. And so I just don't want to go dumping time into repairs only to undo them if I do more damage. So you can get a $30 mystery bag of parts from Broadway Limited now. Really? You might be able to find a list of model train shows on the MNRA website, Model Railroading. I find the best way to find train shows is see if you can meet people in your area who are also into model railroading. If you can get people who are on the inside, they'll let you on to like a lot of train shows. Like the OVA or flea market is where I find like all the greatest deals are in the area. The advertising is practically nothing, but you know, when you're part of a train club or something like that, or you have people who know about it, you can find out when they're gonna do stuff and then actually visit. Because there was a lot of train shows and events and so on going on in the area that I didn't know, and then I joined a train club and everyone was like, oh yes, this is coming up. Is there a locomotive you'd like to see in HO scale? Either because it hasn't been done at all or it hasn't been done in a long time. I'm pretty excited about Rapido's new P32s. I already have the O-scale version, but I've always wanted an HO version of one of those, so I'm probably going to end up ordering one of those when it comes out. Have you heard of the Monon Railroad? Yep. Can you run the 040? This thing needs to be rebuilt. I think the motor is going bad. I thought it'd be cool to give you the Concours Overland Model Cruiser from Reading Lines. I don't know if I've seen it before. It's an odd problem. Have you started working on the Rivarossi 2882 that you got? I haven't so far. I think that one is going to be a pretty in-depth repair, though, because if you saw that video, the engine was definitely dropped or stepped on or something like that. So not only is the drive seized up, but a lot of the rods and everything, like the whole front of it looks to be kind of bent in. I'll see if I can grab it here so I can show you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, there we go. Not again. So you look at this thing from a distance and, you know, it doesn't look that bad, but look at it like this. You see how this is all like pompous wampus, and this is the thing that really concerns me right here. Like, that is like this is pretty straight. You can see the wheels are all in line. There's definitely like a real bend, so I think the whole frame right here, this really got pounded pretty bad. And this is also like super bent up. So is it unfixable? Probably not. Most times you can bend metal back into place, but it's definitely going to be a tricky one. I think something fell off. Yeah. Some self-tapping screws or something. I don't know. That poor Y6B. Yeah, and apparently that engine, it didn't run, but it wasn't that bad before it left. So I have no idea what happened to that thing during transit. That whole lot was like, the box had been destroyed and it had clearly been exposed to water. There was like black mold on the inside of the box. Please give oil to your... It's not about the oil. It's the design of the Rapido cars. None of my other ones do that. I've tried oiling them before. It has not fixed that problem. If it's driving you crazy, I'll just pull those grain cars off. I guarantee you it will run quiet. So let's see which ones are the suspects here. Thank you, no problem. There's still one more Rapido car somewhere in there, but it doesn't seem to be as bad as the others. Can you show us the F40 SMT locomotive? Yeah, sure. Probably just have it pull some cars around, honestly. It's over here. There it is. I usually get squeaky wheels on my old Tyco cars that are still running plastic wheels. Anything with metal wheels don't have that issue. Well, I don't know what Rapido did, but these have metal wheels, so that's not the problem in this particular case. But all three of these cars seem to have that problem. They have since the day I got them. Tried to fix it, has not done anything, and I'm not the only one to have that problem. Like, I remember Mark from M&M Rails was doing a live stream where he was running some Rapido cars, and he was saying that they were squeaking, and my thought was the same thing, you know, as a lot of what other people are saying. Is like, oh, it just needs oil. And I think it's something with the design. Maybe grease the bearings. That's a good idea. Maybe something thicker would quiet them down. Let's test it. I'm not really psyched about this being a solution if it does work, because it's definitely gonna increase the resistance. But it's a good idea. Maybe it would work. Throw a crap ton of grease. They need to fix the design. Rapido ain't cheap. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Let's get that one running a little quieter. Hopefully this works. This would be testing in the making. I have some Rapido UK cars and they work fine. Well, that's good. I mean, these cars have never had any operational problems. Like, they stay on the track nicely. But yeah, the squeaking issue has been present for as long as I've had them. I really thought, too, maybe if they just broke in after a certain amount of time, that would fix them. But so far, that hasn't worked here. I've almost got all the wheels out. I remember you made a Go Transit crash video. Probably the Go Transit crash video. I don't remember that. God. So yeah, let's put a nice healthy serving of grease there. Squeaking is the flange in HO scale. I don't know. Be interesting to see if that's true. Okay, so we got one of these things all greased up here. Let's see if that fixed it or not. Stop this so we can actually listen to it. Yeah, so far so good. Maybe that is all it needed. Oil just was not thick enough. Midnight run on the main line. You mean midnight special run, David, or a like shut off the lights? Run the lights off. All right. I'll shut the lights off so that you can see how poorly I blacked out the house. Have you heard of the Lac-Mégantic disaster? Oh yeah, I mean, like I live in Quebec, and that was a pretty big event for the province. I wasn't anywhere near Lac-Mégantic, but there were fundraisers going on locally to try to help them out. You should do a Halloween layout, Christmas layout challenge. Yeah, that would be a good thing. I think I misread that comment. You should do a Halloween contest like the... Yeah, sorry for misreading that. Like the Christmas layout contest. Yeah, that would be fun. I had a lot of fun last Halloween making that little short with the my grandmother's old steam locomotive running through fog. Don't buy a house with translucent walls. It would be ideal. Have you ever considered getting a Rapido turbo train? Maybe one of their new ones, but I would never buy one of their first generation ones. My friend Nick actually owns a turbo train, and I think it's been okay for him, but there's definitely some parts he's had to replace. All right, let's see if this second car has the same results. Worked on this one too, nice. How do you glue ballast onto your HO track? You just spray your track down with water with a tiny bit of dish soap mixed in, and that will basically break the surface tension. And then you take school glue, just like Elmer's, add a little bit of water to it if you want it just to be just a little more liquid there. And then you drop that onto the ballast, which you've already sprayed down with your water mix. Is Dunderville real? No, it's made up. I think the only part of this entire layout that is actually based on a real place is the Hershey factory, which is Smith Falls, Ontario. Everything else isn't modeled after a particular place, but it's not a replica of anything, but it references real things. It's inspired. We'll call it that. I could watch your unboxing videos for hours. They're so entertaining. Thank you. I have a lot of fun opening the boxes up. I always love the eBay junk lots. You just never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates. I think my favorite part though of the eBay unboxings is testing out the old stuff. It's like, what's it gonna do? And most times it's like, oh yeah, it kind of runs or something. But once in a while you get something really quirky that happens. Like there was this one steam engine I got and smoke started coming out of the tender of all things. I'm like, oh, don't know how that's going on. Do you game at all? If so, have you ever tried Railroader or Derail Valley? Played Microsoft Train Simulator, Trains with a Z, and Railworks, but no, I've never tried Derail Valley or any of the other games. I don't really play a whole lot of video games anymore. I have nothing against them, but when the channel started to take off and I really got back into model railroading, I kind of just left gaming behind, because for a while I was really into video games. I was playing them almost every day, and now I maybe play video games like once a month. I probably will buy Grand Theft Auto 6 when it comes out, though. That looks like some fun. I know the feeling between being a dad, woodworking, and model trains time is pretty limited. That's just it. I don't know. I feel like something has to pay the price, and in terms of hobbies, especially like when you add working or, you know, chores, just other things you have to get done in life. You know, I think you can have hobbies, and in my case, I have other hobbies too. It's like I've also got the boats and I've also got the car and stuff like that. So just dividing all that time up, you know, when all is said and done, and then all the other things that need to get done in and amongst that, I think video games are where the price is paid. I mean, when I was full into gaming, I was probably playing about 4 hours a day. Quite a bit day in, day out. The raccoons probably still have the Pop-Tarts from the mint. Yeah, I'm sure they do. What a mess. For anybody that doesn't know what that's a reference to, there was an unboxing video I did where a large part of the box is missing. As raccoons got into it. I'm retired. I have trains, planes, and automobiles. Nice. They should make a movie about that. We need a raccoon cameo in a future unboxing video. Yeah. Just need to leave boxes out in the garage again. Leave the door open with some like candies inside, and I'll set up a camera there. And yeah, the raccoons can open up the box. I have too many hobbies. Too. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's so tough. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know, do I have too many irons in the fire between all these different things? But at the same time too, it's like, what would I be doing if I didn't have all these hobbies? Probably nothing better. So this is kind of a positive way of seeing as a good way to fill up your time. Hello from the beautiful state of New Mexico. For some reason, I thought the Hershey factory was a shopping mall. Well, I don't know. I guess it kind of looks like any other like industrial building. I do still have plans though to build a shopping mall on the layout. One place has it all. America's first shopping mall. Super mall. Have the prices for model trains changed since you started? Quite a lot, yeah. When I was a kid, prices were actually pretty good for model trains. I mean, there was still expensive equipment out there, but you still had a lot of budget brands. Model Power was still around. Lifelike was still around. And you could find train sets cheap. I remember me and the family were at Walmart one day, and we found some Bachmann train sets on clearance for $25 a box. Never would find that today. Those same train sets are like 120 bucks. I found sometime around 2013, right around 2013, I found the prices really started to climb. I have a theory, which is that is also around the time that Model Power and Lifelike started winding down production. So I don't know if maybe that's why other manufacturers raised their prices, but yeah, it was noticeable. What's your opinion on Bachmann Spectrum? They're okay. Really nothing too spectacular in my opinion. Just, I don't know, slightly nicer Bachmann. To clean your Gscale rolling stock, use soap and water, not IPA 91 or 99 Lysol spray or wipes. It will ruin the original color of your train layout. I recommend use soap and water. Yeah, soap and water is a pretty safe choice. I do use rubbing alcohol sometimes to just clean greases off because it will cut through that. But yeah, when I was younger, I used to use alcohol wipes to clean off my equipment, and some of it was fine, but there were some older pieces of rolling stock, and it took the decals, like not the decals, but the paintwork right off it. Walmart used to sell model trains. Not consistently. I feel like it was probably an after Christmas special or something, but they were full-on Bachmann train sets. We bought them all. Ended up giving them away as gifts to some of my friends. And in Canada too, for President's Choice, there was these Mahano train sets. Those were $100. But they came with really nice steam locomotives, like they had 210-2s, and they had the bullet nose, a lot of really nice steam engines, and those were $100. And then the day after New Year's, I think it was, they would go on sale 50% off. And so you could buy yourself a brand new Mahano engine, which was worth like $150 for $50. Plus you'd get free track and a controller, so it was quite the deal. I've got a few new Bachmann, and I will say their newer build quality is much nicer. I agree with that. I think that Bachmann has improved. I mean, if you look at what Bachmann was making in the early 80s and into the 90s, even into the 2000s, it was not very high quality. They've done a good job at definitely improving the brand in terms of quality. My only problem is that the prices, I think, have outpaced the quality by a long shot. So even though they're making a better product, I just think compared to other brands, even though they are a bit cheaper than other brands, their stuff is not as good. It's really their driveline that I don't like. It's just a lot of plastic wrapped around metal. Like it always fails. It's just like, I don't know. If I open up a Bachman here. I'll have to go get one from the garage. Get your old Bachman here. Actually, that's not even right. I have to pull out the 4 screws. I think they're down here. See, you got like one little tiny screw holding both the trucks on. So if a kid has his hands on this and he drops it on the floor, one good bump and you're gonna strip that right out. It's threaded into plastic. So that's a flaw. You've got plastic wrapped around metal, so this could crack, or more often than not, the plastic will start to just slip around. You just got like a 3-pole motor. And got some exposed gears right there. Stuff can get in there. The rest of it's not that bad. At least the bottom is nice and sealed up. The wheels haven't failed in my experience, so it's not complete junk. At least you've got a metal frame. But the driveline is really where I find these things usually go wrong. What's the best oil to treat old gears that need restoration? I usually put like a pretty thick grease. Like if you're talking about like an old locomotive where you've got metal gears and they're really worn down because they haven't been well maintained, just put a really thick grease and it should help save whatever's left. I mean, obviously no oil is going to undo damage, but sometimes you can still get a lot of life out of them. I've got some engines that have some really gnarly looking gears, and you know, I keep on top of the oil, and so far they haven't stripped out even after many hours of use. So you know, just because something's not ideal doesn't mean it doesn't still have a lot to give. What's your opinion on the new Norfolk Southern Heritage units? I don't know if I've seen pictures of them or not. I have a Bachmann Atchison Topeka FT with the exact same driveline. However, it hasn't had any issues with it. It runs pretty good. They will run for a while, but I find just in the long run, they start to develop issues. Like I have a CSX-8. I bought that thing brand new in 2013, and after, I don't know, eight or so years, it started slipping. I actually did a live stream where I fixed that up, and that guy Peter Wacko, he sent me a couple of what are they called? They're the Centennials, DDA 40s. Both of those have that problem, and had quite a few of them where the truck just completely strips out that top screw. I mean, these things are repairable. It's not the end of the world, but you know, on engines which are only like 10 years old, I feel like that shouldn't really happen. Like if an engine's 25 years old, it's like, okay, yeah, it's had a rough go, but I don't know, like 10 years, I'm new in the hobby and I bought a DCC train on eBay by mistake. Can I run it on my DC layout? The short answer is yes. Most decoders have a DC bypass, so if you give it DC power, it will work. It might not be good for the decoder just because the controller can spike it, so there is a risk you could burn out your decoder. But truth be told, I've been doing that for years. I've been running DCC locomotives on DC power. I've never seen a decoder personally fail because of it. So I don't know how big the risk is. You'll probably be fine doing that. I don't know if you've heard about, but Lionel made a really cool piece, which is an aquarium car. They have a light and motor inside it. They are classic, still made if you want to find it. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't have that car, but I do have a AEC car, which has some kind of fluid in it. I'll see if I can find it. Look at this thing. This like car always makes me think of my friend. He used to work at a dump. I guess they had some sort of radioactive device that they used to scan the dump. I don't know what the purpose was, but anyway, the guy who had the device just drive around with it in the back of his rusted out van. And this one day he got into an accident and it ended up catching fire. I guess he had to put that out. It's not supposed to be a funny story, but the way my buddy described it, it's been like, yeah, he's driving around with it in the back of his rusty van, and then it caught fire, and he had to put it out with his hands. It's like bad planning. It reminded me a lot of the scene from Anchorman, you know, where he's got like a deep fryer in the back of his RV, like just setting yourself up for disaster. Run the Chattanooga, sure. Mystery Atomic Goo, yeah, exactly. That's what they would have in a 1950s film. If I have a pancake drive Tyco and I install DCC and it's smoking, should I throw it out or find the issue. Well, what's doing the smoking? Is it the decoder or the motor? Truth be told, the motor should have a reasonable amount of current draw. I don't think that would be an issue, but when I did the video where I wired up the Tyco Golden Eagle, I had wired up the stock headlight, which had pretty high current draw, and in part of that video, I started having problems. The decoder started acting up. Usually when decoders start acting up, it can be a symptom that there's something causing a problem. And so I disconnected the headlight and all the issues went away. So I'm just kind of wondering if maybe the reason a lot of people have problems when they wire up an older locomotive isn't the motor, but it's actually because the headlight is drawing more power than it's intended to. Both the motor and the decoder are smoking. Well, it sounds to me like you've got a really bad short circuit in that case. I mean, that's really bad. Unless, of course, the motor is shorted and the high current draw is also taking the decoder with it, because that can happen. I think that's why, as I was saying earlier, a lot of Rapido engines have that problem. I think it's not the decoder. The decoder is a symptom of the problem, but it's not the problem itself. Oh, camera's going all crazy. I've been having plenty of problems with basic Digitrax decoders lately. I heard they're generally a bit iffy. Yeah, I don't know. Part of the reason I kind of just prefer sticking more to DC is just because you don't run into these sorts of problems, because there's so many different things. I mean, so this guy who works at my local train store, his name's Rajan, and he's very skilled when it comes to DCC. And he's always telling me all sorts of stuff about getting faulty decoders and stuff. And the problem with getting a faulty decoder is that you can wire everything perfectly and then misconclude that you did something wrong just because the decoder was bad right out of the box. And, you know, I asked him why there are so many faulty decoders these days, and he was saying, you know, with DCC becoming more popular, there's all of a sudden a lot more demand. And so the manufacturers, you know, instead of adding more production lines, are just speeding up the production. And he thinks that it's when you speed up production, mistakes are made on the boards, and then that's why they start to have problems. So I've always wondered, does the crossing work in the basement? It doesn't flash, but it does light up. It does look kind of cool. The only reason that this is usually not on while I'm filming videos is it casts a red light over the whole layout. So sometimes I'll be, I don't know, filming something and you just have this weird kind of red glow. You can kind of see it on the wheels there. It doesn't show up as much right now, but like if there's less light, you can kind of see it. Just looks a little strange. I just feel like I should be playing like Roxanne. Does Yellowstone still work? Yeah, it was running it earlier. Can you run the big boy? I'm getting one soon. I want to see how it works. I don't think any of mine are in operational condition at the moment. The thing with the old Rivarossi big boys, I mean, you know, they're wonderful locomotives, but a lot of moving parts with a brand. It's not really known for their locomotives holding together. I'm not calling Rivarossi junk. They have well-made parts. I just find that you can't over torque things, otherwise they strip out, and but they also tend to become loose over time because of that. So I have to figure out what's going on with my whole tripod here. I don't know why it keeps doing that. What is considered a good brand that is still around today, specifically for steam locomotives? I've been in the hobby for a while, and I'd like to know. I think my favorite brand for steam locomotives, at least in terms of reliability, is Mahano. Other than that, it's kind of hard to say. I haven't worked with as many other brands. Just trying to think. Is it safe to say you prefer continuous running instead of switching? Yeah, I think so. My best friend is getting into the hobby, and I told him that Tyco, AHM, and Mahano Model Power are the best brands for starters. Not a terrible pick. I agree with Mahano. Less sure about Tyco. I mean, I really like Tyco. I think that they made a lot of cool products, but my only problem with Tyco is I think that of all the brands out there, they're the least reliable. Like, you know, most of the times when something is going wrong in one of these live streams, it's with a Tyco locomotive. Like, they fail constantly. So the only reason I don't like that is, even though they're very affordable, it's just that for a beginner, they might find that a bit frustrating. Whereas Mahano, find like 99% of the time you put it on the track and it just goes. And the same can be said for old Atherns. You throw them on the track, they haven't been serviced in 30 years, give it 12 volts, it just starts, you know. So that's just something that I like to keep in mind. That's probably why you haven't done an operating session in 7 years. I don't think it's been that long, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have a Walmart on the layout? No, I don't have any Walmart. You have any Penn Central stuff? I've got a Penn Central F unit, yeah. What's the red box car? It's a Bangor and a Rustic box car. There's something satisfying, but yeah, that's what I think too. Have you seen a big boy at all? I saw the static big boy at Steamtown, but I've never seen 4014. The cheapest O-scale big boy that I can run on my track is 800 used. Yeah, well, the price of big boy locomotives skyrocketed after they fixed up 4014. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I was looking for a like a Rivarossi big boy, and I was trying to find one for under $100. And at the time, it was pretty typical to see them in working, like a good one for about, you know, 150. So it was a bit out of my price range then, but today, like, I find like you see these like junk Rivarossi big boys on eBay, like they're not in working order, they have problems, they're missing parts, and people are paying like $300 for them. I was a little bit surprised recently though, because I remember back in the day, one of my friends was in a model railroading, and he really wanted a big boy steam locomotive as well. And then one Christmas, he's like, yeah, my parents got me one. I was like, no way. So we went over to his house, and like I was jealous. I was like, oh man, like that's a cool locomotive. But it always looked a little off. I was like, I don't know, it looks kind of small for a big boy. Anyway, I found some old pictures of his layout, and it was not a big boy. It was a 2882. I think it was a Y6B actually. So anyway, that kind of explains why it looked different. Still a cool locomotive, but I just found it was funny that he was always kind of bragging about having a big boy steam engine, and it wasn't actually the right locomotive. He had the paperwork for a big boy engine though, so I don't know if somebody just mislisted that, because I see a lot of sellers on eBay being really naughty where they call like a Yellowstone a big boy or something like that. So I feel like they're trying to kind of trick people. Where's your YouTube play button? It's right here. What brands have the best pulling power? All the old brass and die-cast locomotives usually have good pulling capacity just because they're, you know, made of metal. A lot of modern stuff is pretty good in terms of pulling capacity. Despite how reliable AHM locomotives are, they're not actually that good for pulling capacity. I don't find, and a lot of starter set locomotives are not going to have good pulling capacity. They're not as heavy as like, more of a mainstream brand, but any like modern diesel from like a reputable brand should have good pulling capacity. Little Tyco switchers have crazy pull, believe it or not. I mean, the fact that some of them are like 50 years old might help. I mean, the rougher the wheels are, the better the pulling capacity is. So it's funny because like the really old Atherns have pretty good pulling capacity, and it's because they've got those old cindered wheels. They're expensive, but what's your opinion on Broadway Limited? I think they're okay. I haven't worked with a crazy amount of Broadway Limited stuff. I did fix up that Broadway Limited AC 6000 BNSF locomotive, and everything inside it was fine. Like, there wasn't anything like super bad, but it's definitely not the best I've seen. Like, I would argue in terms of a driveline that like even Walthers, their cheaper engines, have a better driveline than Broadway Limited. In terms of sound quality and stuff, I don't know. I found that Lifelike F40s have absurd pulling power so long as the traction tires are still good. Mine was able to pull 25 cars up at 2% grade. Yeah, well, Lifelike kind of cheated. Like, they added traction tires. I guess you could argue that gives them good pulling capacity. Like, earlier this was hauling this long train. But I don't know. Just on their own, I feel like they should be able to haul cars. Do you still have the super long Santa Fe? I'd love to see it. Yeah, I still have that. Can't tell you how many comments I've got from people saying, oh, you should start manufacturing these things, or how much do you want for it? And, I mean, like, it's in terrible shape, but makes me wonder if I threw it on eBay what it would go for. What's your opinion on the cab for it? If you have it, please put it on the layout. I have one. I don't know. I don't know if it's in working order or not. It had a problem. I like the design, though. Sell it for an absurd price and say it's a rare release limited edition. Yes. Rare vintage deluxe Santa Fe. Is that the Tyco steam engine you worked at? Yeah, it sure is. Never thought I'd see this thing all back together riding the rails on my layout. Like when I got this thing in that eBay lot years ago, I was like, it was just in such bad shape. I was like, let's part it out and use the parts on engines which are in better shape. But yeah, it's funny how the underdog is always the one that people want. Like I found it in the bin. I was like, okay, you know what? Like, let's give it a second chance here. I threw it in that poll and it just ruled the day. Like everybody was like, half the votes went to this engine over like a Lifelike and a Centennial and an old like Penline locomotive. It's like, three pretty nice engines, and then we've got this one, which is just like kind of the worst of the worst, and everyone's like, that one. Have you ever thought about adding catenary section to your layout? I feel like it could be a fun addition. I know you typically run diesels. I've considered adding it to the industrial side, and then I could run the GG1s. One thing that I do like about the idea of adding catenary, I don't know if I'm getting that right. The only thing I do like about that is that some of my engines are already equipped to actually pick up power through the wire, so that might be kind of fun. SMT, would you have played with the Bachmann Thomas when you were a kid? Probably so. Probably if I'd gotten into model railroading when I was younger. I was kind of young though. I was 5 years old, so I don't know. I was a weird kid though. I mean, well, I'm still a weird person, but I was a weird kid. Like I didn't really like brands and stuff like that. Like I remember when I was starting school, my mom brought me to Walmart to get a watch, and it drove me crazy because every kid's watch had like Spider-Man on it or something like that, and I was like, I just want a normal watch. And we finally found one. It was like the most boring watch ever, but I was happy just because it didn't have that. And it's kind of the same thing like with the Thomas. Like I would run the Thomas trains backwards because I didn't like the fact they had a face. I was like, that doesn't look right. So I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have. I was really happy with my first locomotives. Like that was a game changer at the time compared to the wooden stuff. The fact that they could actually run under their own power and stuff, I just thought that was so cool. When's the next unboxing? Probably in the next few days. Can you do a long unboxing video? The next one is probably going to be medium. Your BN caboose is in the middle of two cars. Well, it's because I removed them because they were squeaking and then added the oil to the cars. So yeah, change that. Why is that? Valid, no distaste to Thomas, but I've always thought it was weird that they had faces when I was a kid. I used to pretend they didn't to satisfy my... Yeah, exactly. That was the same thought I had. Which is funny, because I did like the show. I don't know how it would have worked if they, if the characters didn't talk or anything like that, but, yeah, I don't know. Never wild about that. You know, which is funny because I feel like part of the reason a lot of people like Thomas is because Thomas is a character. Like, I don't know, people really love to like personify things like that. And I mean, I do that too. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, let's see how she runs or something like that, right? But you know, I think people have a harder time connecting with a machine which doesn't really have like there's no emotion, there's no feelings. Whereas Thomas, it's like there is a character there, right? So I feel like that's why a lot of people like it. But I don't know, for me, it never really stuck as much. Shining Time Station. I never watched Shining Time Station. I know that was what they... I don't know, they tied it into the Thomas movie. I think Shining Time Station yeah, that was my impression too, that Shining Time Station was either a show or a movie that came out before Thomas and the Magic Railroad, but I never watched it. What's with the black, yellow trim on the fourth car behind the engine on the outer side of the rails? I don't know. That was part of that Walther's lot. I think it is a real I think it's modeled after something real. Do you like Tyco or AHM better? In terms of cool products, Tyco. In terms of reliability, AHM. AHM can mean a lot of different things though, because kind of like Walthers, they were a manufacturer as well as a distributor. So like there, you know, a lot of products were sold under the AHM name, but many of them were actually just rebadged Rivarossis and Mahanos. There's one thing about model railroading is like I feel like every manufacturer has either rebadged or stolen a design from another company at some point. Like there's so many crossovers or acquisitions. Like a lifelike locomotive might have been made by AHM, but it might have also been a house locomotive, but that also has ties to Varney and a lot of connections. Super niche, but do you know or remember Geotracks? It's like trains are night riders where they talked and made characteristic noises. I've never heard of that before, to be honest. You should have a Discord server. I don't want another one of those. I had one back in the day and it seemed to bring a lot of grief. There was always something stirring up there. Somebody would start a fight over something silly, and then you know, there'd be a mod who would overreact or something like that, and then I'd get these angry emails being like SMT or Discord's out of control. You know, I'd have to go clean up these messes and stuff like that, so I just don't want that anymore. I remember Geotrax. I have a bunch of their toys in my attic. Huh. There's clearly some lore I need to catch up on here. Well, anyway, I think I'll pack it in for the evening. Thank you all so much for joining in, as usual. I had a lot of fun running all these different locomotives and chatting with all of you. I hope you enjoyed as well. I'll answer a few more questions just before signing out for good. What's your favorite brand? Mine is AHM. My all-time favorite brand is probably the old Athearn blue boxes. I just love those things. They're so reliable. They're easy to work on. You don't even have to have too many special tools, so I like that. Yeah. Have a good night. I'll try to catch up on some new videos from my club tomorrow. All right. Cheers. Thanks for the stream. All right. Well, have a great night, everyone.